cup of coffee, then I'll go. That I just drop by and let you know that I'm leaving town tomorrow. I'll cause you no more sorrow. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go. I brought the money like the lawyer said to do. It won't replace all the heartaches I've caused you. It won't take the place of loving you, I know. I'll just have a cup of coffee, then I'll go.
Welcome back to the channel, Grand Colombia. Welcome to Coffee Time Live. I want to thank you all for that magnificent applause. No juice today, just some water. I'm happy to announce that the weather is awesome. It's been really good. You know, we're getting our rain afternoon, mostly in the evenings. Seems like we're kind of back on track. Excuse me. I also want to report that here in Condillo, the epidemic reporting here has always appeared to be pretty realistic, unlike a lot of places. We didn't have high death rates and all kinds of stuff that went on elsewhere. It seemed to be pretty realistic. And they just reported yesterday or the day before that we've actually gone 30 days on these cases, no hospitalization, no death, nada. So that's pretty cool. They actually have teams out trying to find people that have the illness because they have no connection with anybody that's sick right now. Okay, so that's pretty cool. I got a few things today. I'm going to talk about coffee time itself a little bit. I'm going to talk about Ecuador for a little while, some things happening there. And I want to do a survey. So when I get to that point, it's kind of important, at least to me, because I've got some video plans. And so I'm going to ask you a question. I've got 7 questions. So I'm going to ask you, and then I'm going to pause for a moment. And you just put down the question number, like question 1, your answer. Question 2, there's 7. And I'll explain it again when I get there. But please do that. Even if you don't normally comment, I would appreciate it. Let's see. So before we started, Fan Rodriguez sent a contribution. Also, Juka, he sent, like he's been doing every week lately, one for me, one for Alejandra. It's up there on the screen. And what else we got? He said, I might be a little late, but I'll try to hurry. Okay. Hello from Rob. How you doing, Rob? Rob was in Medellin and surrounding area, mostly surrounding area, I gather, for the past week, and then went back home. Coleman, how you doing? Asheville, North Carolina. That's an awesome place. If you're in the United States and you have never been to Asheville, you're really missing something. I've been all over the country in the United States. Asheville is unique and particular. It's a special place. Yeah, you got a fair share of hippie wannabes. It reminds me of Vilcabamba in Ecuador. You got, the long sundresses and the long hair that's turned white because, they're old hippies like me, but they're still living that dream. and so there's a bunch of them there, but it's an awesome place. It's got a lot of cool shops. It's got some amazing restaurants, and the setting is just gorgeous. So it's nice to see Asheville. I was just thinking of Asheville the other day. There are places in the United States that I miss, and I came up with, 5 or 6 that are special, and this was one of them. Juka, you made it on time. Thank you. George, good morning from sunny Northern California. Yeah, we won't talk about California today. Ben, good morning from Dallas, Fort Worth. See, I knew. Best steak I ever had in the world. And I've had Japanese Wagyu or Kobe. But the best steak I ever had in a restaurant was actually in Dallas. About 2 blocks from where Kennedy was shot, there was a steak restaurant there. Of course, they're all over there, but it was pretty amazing. Dan Spencer, how you doing? And our friend Javier from Switzerland, how you doing? Good to see you all. Okay, let's see. Coffee time. I want to say so. I got a message saying, how long has coffee time been going? Well, the channel Grand Colombia. I moved to Ecuador in 2015, and 2016. And I'm not going to go over it again, but there were 2 instances that happened within 1 week that made me decide to start doing videos about what Ecuador was really like. And that's not. I didn't do any bashing interviews, but everything was just so glowing, and I wanted to be realistic about it. So I started doing videos in 2016, towards the beginning of. I actually probably should have looked, but 2 years after I started that, I started doing the coffee times, and it was January 2nd, 2018 was the very first coffee time. It was not live. But it started because I had a laptop. I've gone through 4 laptops. This desktop has been great. And I should have done it long ago, but I was moving around so much. Laptops, editing is really tough on laptops. They just get too hot. Desktops, you can, they're already better cooled, and you can cool them even further. And so that's what I've done. But I went through 4 laptops, like 1 a year. It was ridiculous. And at that time, I had a laptop that was failing. And editing was a nightmare. At the time, I was slow with editing because I hated it, didn't know what I was doing. So it was problematic to edit to begin with. If I did a 10-minute segment, it was taking me 3, maybe 4 hours to edit it and try to get all my ums cut out. And it was all traveling, or for the most part traveling. And I had trouble editing because these things were turned into 2 or 3 days, and I was backing up on videos. At the time, I had something like 12 videos worth of stuff backed up that I couldn't get edited. And so doing this, whether it's live or just recording it, well, if it's live, you don't edit at all. Poor you. But if you're recording it, you still don't have hardly any, if at all, edits to it. So to get something out, I decided I got questions that are coming in on emails. I've got some news things that's happening around. So why don't I do these, like once a week while I'm solving this other problem? That's where coffee time began. So is, what's going on? What's the latest? What's happening with me? What have I been doing? Because I couldn't really show the film or the clips of those things that I'd been doing. So that's where it began. And so the 4th year anniversary is coming up June 2nd, 2018 for these coffee times. It went live, I think, about 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago. Yeah, I think it was 3 years ago. Okay, so that's the answer to the coffee time. And I probably could have answered it on the anniversary, but knowing me, I'll probably forget completely about it. So here we are. All right, that one quit working again. Wonderful. We've got Sam and Peg. How you doing? Howdy from Virginia. I did read that email, but you didn't ask me anything, and I've been busy, so I didn't reply. If there was something to reply, I would have, but I would want you to know I did get it, and I read it. Mike, how you doing, Mike? Good morning, Coffee Timers. Hello, Mike. Craig, you can buy a crystal there for any want or need. Oh, in Asheville, that's true. You got that kind of stuff happening also, and if they could import shamans, that would be going on. Shamans are, I think shaman is Spanish for pusher or dealer. Phil, how you doing, Phil? Good morning. Want to know about GC Resort or the other property? Yeah, I hate to keep putting up excuses. I have one property that's available and ready. I've been dragging my feet on this because I filled my gas tank, and all of a sudden I got these horrific gas fumes. I mean, really bad. So I parked the car. Holy Week was going on. I couldn't find anybody that would take a look at it. I couldn't do anything with it because you got to get it up in the air. I don't have any tools. I got no way to do it. So I got to get a hold of a mechanic. It took forever. And it wasn't until actually yesterday when somebody got to look at it. So that's how much time I lost. It's been sitting for 2 weeks. And it blew off the return line from the fuel pump, apparently. So they replaced a section of line, and there was some other thing with the AC vent had fallen off under the dash, and so they're reconnecting that. The whole thing is going to cost me 100,000 pesos. What's that, $30 or something, including the section of hose. It was just a matter of a lot of time. So once again, I went yet another week where I couldn't get out to the 2 others that I've got planned. Therefore, I've been holding off on putting information because I really want to know before I go through and put the work into a presentation for these things. I want to know everything that I'm dealing with, and I can't do that until I actually go have those meetings. So that's what's going on. I swear to God, these not just lame excuses, but things happen. And the alternative, I could have rented a car to go do it, but that's just throwing money down the drain, and there's no money, it just didn't make sense to do that. So I figured I'll just wait. You gotta be patient in life. And I try to do that. So that's what's going on with that. But I have one already lined up. I showed some clips. It's a gorgeous place. It's got the most hellacious pothole dirt road to get to it. It's between Calarca and Armenia, but it's in the middle of nowhere. And just awesome place, but you got a swimming pool and jacuzzi, and you got all kinds of amenities there. Nice place to kick back. It's a functioning farm. They got horses and sheep and goats and every kind of bird you've seen, turkeys and ducks and chickens and geese and all kinds of stuff. Okay, where was I? Oh yeah, we're going to talk about Ecuador a little bit. Now, what I have to say about this is probably going to come across to some who don't want to hear anything negative about something that they like. They're going to hear it as being overly critical, but I'm not overly critical. What I'm going to talk about is simply factual. George, thank you. Much appreciated. here's the thing. Let me show you a clip here. I believe it's about 3 minutes. Take a look at this. That's one hellacious flood. Now, I know this area very well, very well. I don't think I need to show the rest of this, although there's some others. It's more than just this, but you get the idea. This is like a major fast running river going through the center of a town. Well, first to give you some perspective, because some people, they're not that familiar with down here. Here's a map of, you'll see Colombia, and then south of that, you'll see Ecuador. And Quito's near the top part of Ecuador. And where that red arrow is pointing, that's just below Cuenca. And that's where I used to live. So let me show you a closer map here. So you got Cuenca at the top. The middle one that's circled, that's Giron. That's where I used to live. I did a year's worth of videos out there. Love that little town. About 2,000 people. And the bottom circle is Santa Isabel, and you've got the road between is where Yunguilla Valley. It's kind of somewhat famous. It's where so-called organic food, and some is organic, non-pesticide, but there's a lot of pesticide food that comes out of there that they say is not. So you have to know your supplier there. But that distance is about, as I recall, about 25 to 30 miles. So it's about 30 miles, 27 miles from Cuenca to Giron, and about 25 miles down to Santa Isabel. And I've been there many, many times. This flood is going on there. And it's been really horrendous. Now, what is it I have to say about this? Well, here's something. This was always frustrating for me. When I lived in Giron, I lived up on the side of a mountain. This is the Andes, you have to remember. These are the Andes Mountains, all of this area, Santa Isabel, it's all in the Andes Mountains. 6 months of the year, the mountains were brown. There was drought all the time during those 6 months. Drought, forest fires is a serious issue there. 6 months of the year, you're contending with too much rain, too much flooding. Now, I'm living in the Andes. We get as much or more rain. We actually get more rain because ours is year-round. It's not like there. So why don't we have all this kind of massive flooding? I mean, at the worst we've had recently, we had hardly anything happen. We had one mudslide somewhere the other side of Calarca. It wasn't even a habitated place. So, it's like, why don't we have that problem? Well, same reason much of the world doesn't. There's something called water management. And you can build reservoirs. There's a number of things that you can do so that when you have too much rain, you kind of restrain that flow. And then when you come into a season where there's not a lot of rain, you kind of open that up and you moderate that water. And they don't do that down there. And it's maddening because every year you have loss of life and property. This one is the worst I've seen. It may be the worst that's ever occurred in that region. But it doesn't matter. It matters, but every year they have flooding and issues and property damage and loss of life. And they never do anything about it. I mean, right in the heart of Cuenca, Cuenca is actually, it's got a longer version, but it's like Cuenca 4 rivers. There are 4 rivers that run in Cuenca, and a couple of them converge. And they flood and, you know, goes up over. I lived real close to one my last year there. Was just a couple blocks away. I went down during rainy season. The water was up level with the ground. They did build up some banks there, but it doesn't solve the problem. And I don't know. It's one of the things that really bothered me about Ecuador. But also thinking about that, I was thinking of a lot of nice things about my time in Ecuador as I was considering this. But this is a major catastrophe. And, you know, one of these days they could resolve this problem. They had all of these, I'll call them vanity works, people in power there. They don't necessarily have to get the populace to agree to something so they could go like the Tranvia. Most people are against the Tranvia, but they put it through anyway because the politicians wanted it, and they have the power to do that there. So I call that a vanity project. Yeah, it's nice, it's pretty, but they could have solved the issues that they used as an excuse for a tenth of the money and had a better system that would have benefited everybody throughout Cuenca, not just a few people living along the lines of the Tranvia. It's very nice, but they wanted to have this image of Europe, and it was all for tourists, but it wasn't very practical. But so they do these vanity projects, but something like this, they don't put a dime into it. And it's maddening. So if you're living in Ecuador, particularly if you're living in the Andes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Some of you will deny it because some people, whether it's Colombia or Ecuador or wherever, some people, if you say anything like this, they're all up in arms. You know, they instantly hate you. I'll get a bunch of messages of hate just for saying this, but it doesn't make it not true. So if you're thinking about going there, make sure that what you're getting isn't going to have issues with flooding. There's certain areas, and people there will clue you in. There's certain areas that it looks great, you know, much of the year, but then when the flooding time comes, you don't want your furniture ruined, and you don't want to contend with that. So just be aware. Got anything else here before I get to Judy? Good morning. How you doing, Judy? Are you thinking of managing the properties? No, I'm not going to be. I've come up with a different way to do it, so I don't have to carry overhead. That's what the meetings are for. Okay. Now we're going to get to the quiz or the survey or whatever you want to call it. And then after that, I'm going to open it up for Q&A, and then we'll wrap it up for the day. Let me check something. I have something probably happening today, so I've got to keep an eye on it because at some point I'll have to run. But it shouldn't be till after we're done here. Okay. So, again, I'm going to ask a question. And what I would like you to do is, for the first question, put 1, and then after, whatever your answer is. Okay? And there's only 7. And so here we go. First one, number 1. Who plans to visit Colombia in the next 6 months? Okay, I have to take into account the bit of a time delay. Hopefully, you're answering it. All right, awesome. Number 2, who has been to Colombia before? Did I play the tune? Do, 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 do. All right. Number 3, who plans to go to Ecuador in the next 6 months? Do, 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 do. Please put the question number, please, so I know which one, because I'm going to have to go back and look at these. Okay, so number 2, who's been to Colombia before? Number 3, who plans to go to Ecuador in the next 6 months? Number 4, who's been to Ecuador before? Oh, what a surprise that question was. Number 4, who's been to Ecuador before? Number 5, here we go. Ready? Number 5, who's planning to move to Colombia? Okay, number 6. What is your number 1 concern? Number 6, number 1 concern. And number 7, if you plan on moving here, what's your number 1 reason? Okay. They'll not only be interesting for me, but I'm actually planning, I always plan ahead, and I'm planning some direction of some things. And I want to make sure that I'm doing what will serve you the most. Some people come on here just out of curiosity. I have no intention of ever moving here, maybe not even ever visiting, but for one reason or another, they're just very curious. I would put them, if that were most, then I would just not worry about direction. I just do whatever. But if I have quite a few people that are planning on moving here, then I'm going to prioritize certain things that I'd be doing that will be more helpful to you, rather than let them come along as they come. So anyway, that's it. So I think we've had enough time to get them. It is time. It's Q&A time. It's time to start asking your questions. Remember, 4 question marks first, then ask the question. Elephants. There's a name. All right. So I want to thank you. You probably didn't expect to get put to work, but there you go. All right, now we're up for the questions. If you got any questions, well, let's hit it. When we run out of questions, we'll wrap it up. Either way, I want to try to keep it within the hour if possible. So we got about a half an hour. And let's see. All right, we're still wrapping up. We do have this time delay. It's built into YouTube. While I'm waiting for the questions to come, I've been, Odyssey has been making more moves to the good, and I'm closer to switching to Odyssey. If it keeps going the way it's going, probably in the next month or two, I'll be on Odyssey instead of YouTube. And I believe this next month, Emil's apartment is open. So let me put that information up, because if you're going to be coming down here, it's a pretty good deal. Everybody that's gone there has been really happy with it. So let me show it, remind you. And while we're at the basically the advertisement thing, this Hey Mondo Travel Insurance, a bunch of people have been taking advantage of it, particularly when it had the special running for those 10 days for 15% off. But I've been promoting this long enough now to get some feedback on it from a couple people, and so far so good. One person actually had a medical issue, and it was, I forget the phrase, smooth as silk or something like that. In other words, it went real well. So keep that in mind. The link is in the description below. And also, if you ever kind of lose track of where I'm at, go to grandcolumbia.live. Live is in, we're live right now in Grand Columbia. And everything I do is there. Whether it's a blog, whether it's podcasts, whether it's videos, live, everything that is associated with anything that I do, t-shirts, it's all there. As a matter of fact, you can watch this live video on that website. You don't, if you're watching on YouTube, you don't even have to. You can go to that website and watch it. Can we meet for coffee when we're down there? Our treat, of course. See you this summer. Yeah, I always try. Once in a while, I'm just, schedules conflict. Sometimes I'm just busy. My time has been reserved for somebody else, and that's always going to get, the priority for me. But if you let me know ahead of time, I'll try to make sure that, I'm free. And yeah, I think I've only ever not been able to make it maybe twice in the last few years. So I'm pretty good about that. Mills' apartment is great. Fantastic views. Yeah, everybody's been real happy with it because it's a nice place. And the price is great compared to everything else around here. Late to the game, what is Odyssey? It's ODYSEE. ODYSEE. Odyssey.com. It's like a YouTube. It's been around for a long time. I've got a channel there that I've had for, I don't know, 3-4 years. It used to be Library, LBRY. That no longer exists for this purpose. It's well, I don't want to get into the structure, but it's doing something in the background. Odyssey is the commercial application for watching videos. The content is handled as blockchain. So it has that built-in kind of security. Plus, they don't do the censorship is a bare minimum. They essentially, what I was reading is, and you'll find some horrific stuff on there actually, but you find it by choice. I was thumbing through, looking at all kinds of different things and putting in all kinds of weird search things to see what would come up. But if you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, then something that would fall into that category in a video. You can't have a call to violence in a video. You can't have terrorists chopping off heads. They censor those extremes that are not allowed currently in public under free speech. Everything else, fair game. They don't care. It's a platform that actually welcomes different points of view. And I've appreciated that about them for a long time. And people say, try Rumble. Rumble sucks from my end. It's good to watch, but you have to pay. Didn't used to. I've tried it in both ways. It's just, it works. It's very clunky. It eats up a lot of resources. If you have professional equipment with no limit on the budget and you have lots of money to pay for subscriptions, it's still not a good program. So that's why I don't use Rumble. I want to. I go back and revisit it because it's become popular, but God knows why. Odyssey doesn't have those issues. Up until 2 years ago, they were kind of a resource hog, but they cured that, and now it's pretty much the same as working with YouTube as far as that goes. So that's what Odyssey is. I like turtles. How do I get back on your Discord group? How did you leave it? Go to Discord to Grand Colombia. And there'll be a, there'll be a sign-in there. If you're having trouble, send me an email. There's my email address. I've been using that email address for about 4.5 years now. So if you're having trouble with it, send me an email and I'll work up I'll go in and create a link to send you. But Discord's easy to get into, so you shouldn't really have any trouble. Just go to Discord, put in Grand Colombia for the channel, and then just, if you already were in before, you should just enter right in. I hope Odyssey works out well for you and the channel. Yeah, me too. I mean, something has to happen. If you only saw, I mean, I talk about it probably too much, but I could probably make a video a week complaining about issues with YouTube. It's a nightmare dealing with them. It's very frustrating, and I'm tired of it. Okay, we got any other questions? I know clips like that are dangerous and in my hands. Anything else? Check that out. No more questions. All right. Well, I guess we're... Whoops. I think I hit the wrong button. So I guess we're going to wrap it up here. It's early. I don't want to cut you short, but it won't break my heart. I do have things to get ready. I got up at 6, which is my normal time anyway, but I got up at 6 and was cleaning the house and doing laundry and getting all my chores out of the way before this, because I figured when I wrap this up, I probably wouldn't have time to do it. So at least that's done and out of the way. All right. Well, I'm going to see you next week. Thank you all. I appreciate the responses you gave. I'm looking forward to checking in. Oh, and I did go to the supermarket in Kalima Mall this week, and I'll be making a video, but I want to make it with all 3 of the new places. And I was dealing with a car mostly. I actually had to get a tow truck, flatbed, which surprisingly good price on. I mean, I didn't even cry. It was surprising. Where's Alejandra? I don't know. Doing Alejandra things probably. Sleeping in. I only see her, I don't know, I think it's every 2 or 3 weeks I actually will see her. I don't see her that often. What's the bug situation in Armenia? Ticks, mosquitoes, fleas. I'm not going to say there aren't ticks or fleas. I've never seen them on pets or otherwise. Bugs, not much of a thing here. You will get a couple times a year some mosquitoes. I don't remember when those times are. And it lasts for a couple weeks. Well, I'll give you an example. It happened in Provenza, it happened in 360, and it happened here. Where I'll wake up in the morning and I'll have 1 or 2 mosquito bites. And there hadn't been any. So I said, okay, now it's time. And so I've got these Raid wafers that go into this little heating thing that plugs into the wall. And so that night when I go to bed, I plug in, which is usually around midnight, I'll put the wafer thing in the plug-in in the wall, and no more mosquitoes. And I know that I got to do that for about 2 weeks. Because I sleep, usually blankets are kicked off, and you know, I don't want to get eaten by mosquitoes. So at the worst of the mosquito season, whenever it is, I think maybe February, and it's 2 times a year. But it's so minor, and if you go out, you never really notice them. So what I'm trying to say is there's enough, even though this isn't high altitude, there's enough of an altitude where things like that do not thrive. They can live here, they can survive here, but they certainly don't thrive here, so it's at a minimum. Having said all that, bugs, kind of a non-issue. HD, thank you. Thank you once again. Have a great week. Have a super week. Bye, Lord and all. I guess that's it. We're going to sign off. Ciao.
Oh,